Managers at Starwood Hotels and Resorts properties around the globe are responsible for forecasting their demand for rooms weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. There are many variables that go into creating the forecasts, such as future bookings from conventions and special events, and current economic conditions. A look back at history, however, is just as important and can reveal patterns that managers must investigate if they want their forecast to be accurate. As a publicly traded company, when Starwood announces its revenue forecasts to Wall Street, it signals to investors the outlook the company expects for the coming period. Investors then decide whether to buy or sell stock. Using historical occupancy demand and the revenue generated by the guests who stayed is an important part of preparing those forecasts. Although past patterns may continue into the future, it takes more than merely extrapolating the past into the future to generate good forecasts. Why? If individual property sales managers don't pay careful attention to history, they might very well overlook outliers. Outliers are unusual, one-time events that triggered a spike or drop in occupancy and revenues that, if used for future demand predictions, would distort the demand. Such distortion carries consequences.
If you're going to be at a higher occupied level, you're going to need to have more housekeepers in-house. You may need more servers in your food and beverage outlets. You're going to staff up because you're expecting to have this influx of customers. At the same time, you're forecasting increased revenue for the company. You're also forecasting and saying, what is our availability? If a sales guys are coming in and they've got a group that they can book in there, but you're forecasting this percentage of being sold, and they say, well, we don't have occupancy to put them in. If your forecast's faulty, you might walk away from business.
Some outliers may lead to underestimating demand. For example, weather that resulted in evacuations or made it impossible for travelers to reach their hotel destinations may have caused a drop in occupancy. Likewise, a period of renovation reducing the number of rooms available may also cause a drop in occupancy. Other outliers might result in overestimating demand. Sporting events such as the World Series or championship games that change location annually, or a positive write-up in a travel magazine might trigger a spike in demand in one year that doesn't carry over to the next. Either way, sales managers must be able to explain everything that happened and what they predict will happen. They'll take historical data collected by the company's systems and download it to Excel spreadsheets, where they can perform trend analyses and generate graphics to better visualize historical activity. If there was a spike in demand during a particular period, the graphs make it easy to see. Once identified, the spike can be further examined to determine the cause and whether it is likely to happen again.
Recognizing outliers and doing the research to determine whether or not they are one-time events and what was the impact and why did it happen, and considering whether or not you include them in your forecast is going to determine whether or not you accurately report your financials, whether you accurately forecast demand at the hotel, which is going to drive labor costs, which is going to drive expectations, both from a corporation standpoint, from a stock market standpoint, in the grand scheme of things, because the more revenue that you're forecasting bubbles up to even the top financial statements for the corporation, where they say, here's what we forecast our earnings to be this year or this quarter, and starts at the small end, but if enough hotels miss that forecast, it could have a significant impact in investor confidence and investor decisions to purchase our stock, analyst decisions of whether to upgrade, downgrade, keep the same, their recommendations on our stock, and also what's the corporation going to do? If you're forecasting this revenue to come in, we may make decisions on costs that we're going to incur because we have this increased revenue, where if that revenue doesn't materialize, bottom line performance is going to suffer.
It's important not to overlook outliers. At Starwood Hotels and Resorts, finding outliers and determining why they happened is a key step in accurately forecasting demand and revenue generation. Starwood relies on this accuracy in making the right decisions and plans for their future.